Good. The time is now 7 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order, the meeting of September 1st, 2021 for the Planning Commission. Could we please have the clerk call roll?
Mr. McLeister?
Present.
Mr. Dalpace?
Present.
Mr. Mahousen? Mr. Sarah?
Present.
Mr. Volas?
Okay, 3 present. First item on our agenda will be approval of minutes from July 21st, 2021.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of July 21st, 2021.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Sarah. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Could we call the vote, please?
Mr. Dalpace?
Yes.
Mr. Sarah?
Yes.
Mr. McLeister?
Yes. All right, that takes care of item number 3. We're going to move on to the adjudication and public hearing portion of this evening. If we could please have our court reporter please administer the oath. Thank you so very much. At this point, we would like to invite the parties involved with 319 Mississippi to please come up. This will be item number 4 on our agenda. It's good to see you again, Mr. Fry, but for the record, please state your name and address for us.
Absolutely, thank you. Attorney Gary Fry, business address 610 Market Avenue North, Canton, Ohio, 44702. Good evening, Planning Commission. It's a pleasure to be back before you on the other side of the dais, I guess. I'm here tonight representing Attorney Sandra Cheshire, who seeks a home occupation conditional use permit and, I guess, development approval for that plan. You have the plans and the application before you. I'll try and be brief in going through this matter. Ms. Cheshire owns the real property located at 319 Mississippi Avenue Southeast here in North Canton. She currently has a law office at 1401 South Main Street. However, due to some health conditions, deteriorating eyesight, etc., the commute between her home and office is becoming a challenge, yet she's not ready to give up the practice of law. So she desires to be able to practice within her home, her law practice, which consists mainly of estate planning, tax matters, etc. The home occupation, or the guidelines of the North Canton Municipal Code under chapters 1145 and 1133 kind of lay out the guidelines for a home occupation. In 1133.09 are the guidelines specifically for home occupation, A through H. I've highlighted how we either meet or don't meet those criteria within our application. 2 items of note. Subsection A of 1133.09 requires that no more than 20% of the home occupation, or excuse me, no more than 20% of the floor area be used in the home occupation. Last Tuesday on, I believe, the 24th of August, the North Canton Zoning Board of Appeals granted a variance to the applicant, allowing her up to approximately 41% of the home to be used for a home occupation. The other variance granted that night goes along with subsection, I believe it is E of 1133.09, that states any on-site business related in any manner to the home occupation shall be conducted only by occupants of the dwelling unit. The North Canton Zoning Board of Appeals also granted a variance so that Ms. Cheshire could have 1 part-time employee roughly 12 hours a week in conjunction with the home occupation. All of the other requirements under 1133.09, we believe have been met. Purely residential area. It's not going to generate any more traffic than is already there. And in fact, this is a single-family home. However, all the others are duplexes. You've got office, commercial, retail immediately surrounding this, which generates far more traffic than would normally be associated with the area or this home occupation. In addition to the requirements of 1133.09, which due to the 2 variances granted, we believe that we meet. The requirements of section 1145.02 A through M also need to be met. So that we don't belabor the point, those criteria typically deal with new development. If you're taking raw ground, developing it into a built environment. This is an existing single-family home. There are no proposed changes to the exterior, although I believe we did indicate that maybe in the future there's a handicap ramp that goes in the front, but that's nothing out of the ordinary that wouldn't go in with or without the home occupation. I'm happy to answer any questions that the Planning Commission may have, but we do believe that with the variances, we meet all of the criteria required for a conditional use permit and the development approval. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you so very much, Mr. Fry. And if we could let the record reflect that Mr. Volas joined us at 7:03. We have on the line Martin Van Gundy. Mr. Van Gundy, are you still with us?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
All right, great. Are you able to give us any information on behalf of the city in regards to 319 Mississippi?
Absolutely. And first, I'd like to apologize for not making the in-person attendance there. Of course, as a precaution here, I'm attending remotely. But in regards to the application, we have reviewed the application, discussed this with the applicant, and as Mr. Fry had outlined there on the project, with the Zoning Board of Appeals granting the variance, staff recommends the approval of this item, also noting the condition that's consistent with the Zoning Board of Appeals that I believe we had on the screen. However, I'm not seeing it. There we go. Condition 1 there, essentially business activities to operate during reasonable business hours and limited to 1 part-time employee, as per variance 21 NCZBOA-0009. And with that, I'd also like to note that, with the surrounding commercial zoning to the south there, particularly, the proposed use is a good buffer between the commercial use and the residential use to the north. And I'm happy to answer any additional questions if you may have any.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Van Gundy. Does anybody on the Planning Commission have any questions or comments for either Mr. Van Gundy or for Mr. Fry? Seeing that we have item number 4, which is part of the adjudication and public hearing, and also we've got item number 6, which is for the item number 4 is for the conditional use to permit a home occupation law office, and item number 6 is a general review for home occupation law office. I would suggest that we vote on those together. And so we'd be taking things a little out of order. Are there any objections to that? Okay. So I'd be entertaining a motion. Do you have any other questions?
No, I just want to make sure that procedurally, just so that nobody challenges this, I believe the conditional use permit is a public hearing, so I don't know if you need to open that for public hearing and close it again if
Good
there's
point.
nobody. I just want to make sure that
It's been a long day,
procedurally we go
Mr.
through
Fry.
it
Yes. Is
correctly.
there anybody from the public that would wish to speak on this item, 319 Mississippi? Okay. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion for these items.
I would like to make a motion to accept and approve the application for conditional
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Would the clerk please call the roll, or the vote?
Mr. Sarah?
Yes.
Mr. McLeister?
Yes.
Mr. Volas?
Yes.
Mr. Dowpais?
Yes.
All right, so that is the approval for items number 4 and 6 on the agenda. All right, thank you so much. Nice seeing you again. All right, at this point, we'll be moving on to item number 5. And I guess along with that would be items number 5 and 7 on the agenda. So this is an application for 500 Apple Grove Street Northwest, North Canton, Ohio. It's a conditional use permit, a new single-lane automatic tunnel-style Blue Falls car wash facility. And so it's a conditional use, and it also will be a general development review is item number 7. So with that, I see we have some folks here from the applicant. If you could please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Jeff Serto, architect for the project. The address is 26031 Center Ridge Road in Westlake, Ohio.
All right, fantastic. All right.
So, C-E-R-T-O. Okay. On behalf of Conrad's, we're here tonight seeking approval for conditional use and development plan for a new 5,200 square foot tunnel-style car wash at 500 Apple Grove. It is in the recently rezoned Main Street North Gateway District. We are on 2 parcels for this development that we would consolidate for our use. The facility is positioned on the site to allow stacking of cars on the property. They would enter the property off of Apple Grove, stack in a 3-lane stacking area as they approach the pay stations. Following the pay stations, they would circle back through the tunnel-style car wash in the direction of the street. And at that point, once exiting the wash, they can either leave the property or circle around back to the vacuum stations where we have 16 vacuums provided. The site also includes parking for 5 cars, 1 handicap and 4 standard spaces. Staff-wise, we would typically have about 4 people maximum working here, so those parking spaces would be really used for staff. The public doesn't really have a need to park, but they could always park in a vacuum space if that was necessary. The trash receptacle is at the rear of the property towards the back. It is in a masonry enclosure, and then that is landscaped around the perimeter to screen it. The building itself, on the elevations, you'll see it's a variety of materials. It has stone veneer, some ephes in both blue and beige color. There are some metal trim bands, galvanized trim that is the silver color, and some black metal panels as well. Along the sides of the tunnel, you'll see there are continuous glass walls, and the roof itself is a acrylic translucent panel to allow light into the tunnel. So the tunnel itself is completely lit with natural light. It's not dark like a typical tunnel car wash would be. So that's the general outline. I'm happy to answer any questions. Conrad's representatives are here to answer anything regarding the function of the facility itself.
Thank you so very much. Mr. Van Gundy, questions and thoughts from the city's perspective?
Sir, thank you. This project initially came to us under the former zoning. This of course, is the first project we're seeing under the second century zoning. And I think this is a good example of a project that, once would have had some challenges under the former zoning, we're able to, you know, be a little more workable under the current zoning. So with that said, the current zoning is the Main Street North Gateway Zone District. And as such, this is a conditional use. We have met with the applicant, with the department heads, and have worked through a number of items, a few of them being the light. There was photometrics provided showing that the light will be contained within the site. There was a sample sound study produced for a similar project that demonstrated that the noise would be equal to the street and consistent with the ordinance. There were a few comments from the fire department in regards to emergency access. Those have also been addressed in the revised set of drawings that are on the screen currently. And one of the outstanding items which was anticipated and discussed to follow up, you know, with a condition, and that is with the traffic study. We did receive that today, and the draft copy of that. We have a preliminary review on that. However, we don't have a full review on it to comment accordingly. However, the city engineer will be conducting a full review, as well as consulting with the city's traffic engineer to, again, review that document and will provide comments accordingly. The project is consistent with the zoning. Staff recommends an approval with, there's some conditions here. If we can place those on the screen, I'll go through those as well. So you'll see condition number 1 that's proposed is provide a signed and sealed traffic study to the city engineer for review. Incorporate all conditions and recommendations from the final traffic study as approved by the city engineer. One thing to note in there, it does appear that there is a left-hand turn lane that was identified in that draft report we have. And I say draft only because it wasn't signed. It wasn't physically marked draft rather. So, so that would be a follow-up item. Condition 2 is a comment directly from the Main Street zoning in referring to Chapter 1136. That is replacing a few trees to be consistent with the new zoning, and that reads, the 2 Cleveland select pear trees along the right-of-way to be replaced with black gum trees, and the 2 Cleveland pears in the northeast corner to be replaced with eastern red buds. And condition number 3, the proposed EFS siding, which will be installed in accordance with the ANSI standard 99-A-2017 and installed with an approved vacuum system to capture any loose foam particles during the installation. And condition number 4, any replacement or modification of equipment and or lighting to be in accordance with the applicable zoning regulations, and of course this conditional use permit.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Van Gundy. Do any members of the Planning Commission have any questions on this for either Mr. Van Gundy or the applicant? Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Mr. Van Gundy, a couple of years ago, we approved...
Is your red light on?
Is it red on or off?
It should be on.
It is on.
Okay. Didn't sound like we were picking you up.
A couple of years ago, we approved a car wash on the north side of the street. What's the status of that project?
I don't have a formal status. It was conveyed to me through third-party sources that the applicant has decided not to proceed with that project.
They sold the project. All right, thank you.
What are the operating hours of this facility?
My name is Eric Turk, business Eric Turk, E-R-I-C-T-U-R-K. I'm the CEO and president of the Conrad Companies in Blue Falls Car Wash. My address, 14577 Lorraine Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio, 44111.
Thank you.
Thank you. The hours of operation are Monday through Saturday, 7 to 8 o'clock. And then Sundays, we're 8 to 6. It is not a 24/7 facility, and the vacuums are not able to be accessed after hours or before hours. So.
Along those lines, you mentioned the light, you mentioned that the roof was translucent, obviously the sides are with the glass. Is there lighting planned inside the facility, like some of the new car washes we see, where you see them lit up with color from the inside, so you're seeing it, you'd also see it on the outside?
No, there's no real lighting equipment in there. Some of the wash equipment does have some lights on it, but it's really not intended to project outside the
I would say
facility.
it's a standard lighting plan.
Okay.
Regular lights, but it's not like blinking blue lights.
Yeah, that's where I was. That's where I was going, because I've seen some new ones that are lit up inside very brightly. So,
I understand. Yes.
Okay.
Are there any other comments or questions, or?
So, entering and exiting off the Apple Grove, is there a specific, I see there's two, on the site plan, it's shown two aprons there. Is there one that's enter only and one that's exit only?
So on the plan, the one on the left would be the entry. It is entrance only. And then the one on the right would be exit only with a left turn and a right turn lane.
And will that be marked accordingly?
Yeah, we'll stripe that accordingly.
Any other questions? Is there anybody from the community that would like to speak on this? Any remaining or any further comments, Mr. Van Gundy, or any Planning Commission member? Okay.
I don't.
I have a question for Mr. Van Gundy. In regards to Mr. Volus's question, the one that was across the street that was proposed, I'd assume their approval would run out after a year if they don't do anything, is that correct?
That is correct, without any substantial work or an extension on that.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact date on the approval, but that's probably pretty soon.
And I believe a heating and cooling company has moved in there, so yeah. Okay. All right, I'd entertain a motion, and again, we're going to take items number 5 and number 7, which under item number 5 was the conditional use for this project, and item number 7 would be the general development review. And let's keep in mind, actually, if Randa, could we pull back up those conditions that the city would like us to put in place? So at this point, we'd entertain a motion, and keeping in mind the recommendations here from the city.
I'd make a motion to approve items 5 and 7 on the agenda with the conditions as brought forward by the city that are attached. I'd recommend a motion to approve 5 and 7 applications for the conditional use permit, and then also the general development review, and then with the items attached for conditions as provided by the city.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second from any other Planning Commission member?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and a second. Clerk, could you please call our vote?
Mr. Volus?
Yes.
Mr. Dowpace?
Yes?
Mr. Sarah?
Yes.
Mr. McLeister?
Yes. Okay. Oh, thank you guys for coming in. So, That concludes our agenda this evening, so I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second? All right. Got a
Second.
second from Mr. Volas. Okay. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you.